Welcome to Just Minding My Business Media. We hope you are having an amazing day today. Wanted to just remind you to be a part of the movement to help people do better than they were yesterday, be better than they were yesterday, and engage in the numerous ways we get your creative content and business in front of your tribe. Learn more at www.jmmbmediallc.com. Meditation is a vital way to purify and quiet the mind, thus rejuvenating the body. Deepak Chopra. Today, I am so happy to bring to you Tom Cronin, who spent 26 years in finance markets as one of Australia's leading bond and swap brokers. He discovered meditation in the early stages of his career when the anxiety and chaos he was experiencing had hit a crisis point, and it completely transformed his world, both personally and professionally. Founder of the Stillness Project, a global movement to inspire 1 billion people to sit in stillness daily. Tom is passionate about reducing stress and chaos in people's lives. I love it because we got plenty of that. His ongoing work in transformational leadership coaching and corporate training has seen him working with some of the top companies in the world. He is a sought after speaker and has published 6 books, a meditation app, and produced the hit film, The Portal. Wow. Thank you, Tom, for being on this platform. This is such a timely interview with everything that's going on in the world. It is just so important for people to learn how to be quiet.
Thanks for inviting me along today. I'm looking forward to diving in deep with you and having this discussion.
Yes. So I know you worked in a financial arena. So when you were you introduced to meditation, which is why you got hooked?
I stumbled upon it actually. It was an interesting time. I was going through a very bleak and dark time in my life. I had a lot of addictions, a lot of anxiety, a lot of depression and panic attacks. Now, I was a very functioning, um, you know, functioning human at the time. No one really knew that I was grappling with all of these issues that were inside me, but I managed to hide them very well. But that kind of came to a head in my late 20s when I had a full blown nervous breakdown. And in that time, I was really in a dark place and I couldn't go to work. I was just sitting at home and I was taking mental health leave from being a broker on a trading room floor. And that's when I came across a documentary about a very successful person that was a businessman here in Australia and a very successful businessman. So I was watching that because I was into business and success. But he touched on how one of the things that attributed to his success would that he used meditation. And that moment, it was something that I'd never come across. This was before the internet, before apps, and before meditation became a bit more of a household name or word. And it was a really sort of significant moment in my life where when I heard that, it was like, wow, that's something that I think I need to have more of. And so I started to research at that point in time into meditation. That was the start of my journey into finding meditation and how it could affect me in a very positive way.
Yes, yes. I engage in meditation as well. And I definitely believe in having that quiet time so that you can, it just makes a difference in your entire day. It's like you kind of set your intentions. Even when something comes from the left, you just are able to deal with it a whole lot better when you know how to meditate, for sure. And I see that you work with leaders. And how do you get them engaged with such busy schedules and things like that? How do you get them connected?
It's a really good question. One of the things we want people to understand is that what drives us, what motivates us, and what is behind the incentive behind every action, every single action is incentivized by the quest to find fulfillment. And that's
Mhm.
whether we're cleaning the bathroom floor, whether we're going to do the grocery shopping, whether we're going to the gym, or whether we're doing drugs or drinking. All of that is in our constant, insatiable quest to find fulfillment. And yet, when we pause for a moment and reflect and ask ourselves collectively and individually, how's that working out for us? And we have Netflix, we have Spotify, we have ice cream, we have supermarkets with endless amounts of food, and we have nice cars, generally most of us anyway in the world. And yet we haven't been able to satiate that insatiable quest to find fulfillment. And so I help people reassess their core values and realize that what they're looking for isn't outside of them. What they're looking for is actually within them. It's inside of them. As we've heard this many, many times before as cliches, and since that not many of us have the tools or techniques that have the ability to get us to the access point of that place. This is a deep, rich level of nourishment that comes from within. And the analogy I like to use is a tree. And before a tree grows up, it grows down first, and that's to put its roots deep into the soil, A, for stability, and B, for nourishment and nutrition. And we need to, as humans, do that first and foremost before we look at the outside world. Look at the inside world every single day. And when we say look, we don't mean to start peering in and having, a look at all your thoughts and all your feelings, but to actually go deeper than that and to start to connect to an inner silence and inner stillness beyond the thoughts and beyond the feelings. And that's where deep meditations play an integral part. Now, when we start to stabilize that inner rich fulfillment that comes from within, and that's very experiential, then what we have is, rather going into action for fulfillment, we have action from fulfillment. And action from fulfillment is very different action and very different motivation that is from fulfillment than what it is for fulfillment. And so that's where I get people to start with that first, that appreciation, understanding, and then from there, the natural inclination to start doing the meditation.
Wow, that's really, really deep. So, what is a step-by-step guide for physical, mental, and emotional well-being? Because especially in the workplace, because we know everybody is stressed out when they go to work. Most people um, don't like their job, and even if they do like their job, it still can become stressful. So, how do we take that moment to reconnect?
Hmm. Look, there's a beautiful Sanskrit word called titiksha, which means to be unruffled by the circumstances of life. And what that means is that we are able to connect to a part of us that's deep within us that actually doesn't get stressed. It can't get stressed. It doesn't have that capacity to be influenced, affected, impeded, or changed as a result of circumstances in the world. And we all have that within us. We call it being or presence, and or some would call it in more scientific terms pure consciousness. And when we have a daily regular practice that, and we'll get to that in a moment, when we have a daily regular practice and process that helps us be stabilized in that, then we can be in the world and regardless of circumstances be much more stable, much more secure, and less disturbed by these fluctuations of life. And life will continually fluctuate. It will throw things at us that we just don't expect. And so having the ability to be more sovereign and more empowered in and amongst those circumstances is absolutely critical for us as human beings, because otherwise we're just going to be completely deteriorated, diseased, or discord, lack of harmony, lack of health. So we need to remove that stress response, and that's something that we all have the capacity to connect into. So there's a few things that I'd recommend for people to do to be operating from that place. One is obviously once to twice a day minimum, a deep meditation, and that's a transcending meditation, Vedic meditation, primordial sound technique, something that takes you into that state of conscious awareness without thought. I'm all for guided meditations. They're very powerful. I did one this morning, and that is where we're listening to someone guiding us through
Mm.
abundance or visualizations or gratitude or something like that, where we're listening or we're thinking and we're changing the nature of our thoughts, but we're still thinking. That still keeps us in the world of duality. It still keeps us in the world of excitation. But
Mhm.
having a daily deep meditation, I think, is a really important part of the process. And then looking at a very holistic approach to your health or wellness. Are you drinking sufficient amounts of very healthy, clean water? Are you eating the appropriate foods with the right nutrients in it that are going to enable your body to feel safe and secure? Are you getting enough physical rest, that is lying in bed horizontally in deep sleep through the night, for sufficient 7, 8 hours? Or maybe you need naps in the day. Are you doing exercise? We really need to do exercise to get those endorphins moving through the body, muscle development, and cardiovascular workouts. Are we stretching if we're going to do exercise? So I take my clients through a series of steps and processes that is a very holistic approach: physiological, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And we must count all four of those modalities, those layers of our own reality, to be our primary focus for how do I optimize life through my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual existence. Until we do that, then we're really going to be struggling.
Yes, and that was my next question. A lot of people, especially newbies, they wanted to be involved, but they don't really know how to
Mm.
get involved because maybe they had an experience and it made them feel really good about themselves and inside, and they want more of it. So I tend to do the guided because I'm trying to really get hone into a process that works for me. So, what do you recommend?
Well, to start with your meditation practice, what I recommend doing is learning from a qualified teacher in your local area. The best and most powerful way to really get that ball rolling is to, if you want to go into Google, search for Transcendental Meditation, Vedic Meditation, Primordial Sound Technique, or even other practices. There's many different ways to meditate. Finding a practice that works for you and a teacher that you resonate with. Not everyone wants to learn with me, so maybe someone wants to learn from a woman, or someone wants to learn from someone younger or someone older. So there's many different teachers and many different styles to learn from. So firstly, find a teacher. And if you can't find one in your local community, maybe live in a small town or somewhere remote where they don't have teachers in your local community, then there's plenty of options on YouTube and on social media and places like that, or they can reach out to me and we can support them with some other ways to learn. So that's the first starting point, is to start doing your research and looking down that pathway to see if you can find a way to actually learn this technique. Don't just try and wing it on your own. And
Mhm,
then I always find having community around you is really an important part of it. It can be a very lonely or isolating experience to be trying to make changes in your life when no one else in your community is doing that. Particularly if you're a part of a community that is quite self-destructive or maybe not so positive. And if you want to start to make changes in your life, but no one else is, it might be family, it might be friends, or it might be a group of people that you tend to naturally congregate or hang around with. And yet you want to make a difference, you want to make a change in your life, and no one else is. That can be very challenging because the collective status quo is very powerful at pulling us back into old patterns.
mhm.
So finding another community that you can start to feel some support, some form of communication with, I think is really important. And that's why things like congregation have stood the test of time, whether they're spiritual congregations, religious congregations, yoga congregations. Congregation is important. And that's because it's a supportive network that helps carry you and lift you when you're having difficult times.
Yes. So, if people want to work with you, how do they do so?
Well, I'm very active on Instagram. It's probably my preferred platform. I respond to all my messages, and I I'm always checking through Instagram. And I love to hear from my community, from my audiences. They can go to Instagram, Tom Cronin, one word, TomCronin, and my website as well, tomcronin.com. And I'm here to support people getting through those difficult times. I know what it's like to be a bit lost. Sometimes we can't find our way out of the darkness, and we can be clambering around in that room looking for the light switch and just can't seem to find it. And I'm there to support people who are finding things challenging or difficult, because life can throw some really difficult things at us. But the good thing is that no matter where we are, and no matter what our story, no matter what our background, we all have the capacity for alchemy, for transformation, for adaptation. There's not one person that can't make their life better, no matter what their background or their personal experience. And we made a film around that called The Portal, which showcases 6 individual stories from all different walks of life that have all had difficult times. They've all had crisis, and yet they all managed to move beyond that crisis and move out of that crisis and transform. And meditation played a big part in that, and that's why we made that film.
Yes, yes, indeed. And the longer you live, the more stuff. And having a way to cope is very important. And a lot of times it takes a minute for you to see that. You know, when you're young, you're in your teens, you don't really think about things the way you think about it when you're older, and trying to find ways to be happy. You know, just be happy, and not with things necessarily, but with yourself, because happiness is a choice, I believe. And to do that, you need to choose the right things that's going to contribute to your happiness.
Yeah. You know, in every moment when I'm working with my coaching clients, we always get down to a very specific understanding about competing preferences in every single moment. In every single moment, you have a series of competing preferences that are going to be choices that you're going to make. Do I have the chocolate ice cream, or do I have the strawberry ice cream? Do I watch Netflix, or do I go and clean my bathroom? Do I go to the gym, or do I sleep in for another hour? And so in every moment we have competing preferences, and these are choices every single moment. Does this elevate my life and take my life to the next level? Or does this detract from my life? And does this deplete from my life? And so what I really help people try to understand is what motivates those competing preferences is a sense of self-worth, the sense of appreciation for who they're becoming. And I'm not really interested in where people have been in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's good to use that as some storytelling in your book or on stage if you're doing a talk or something. But what I'm really interested in is, who are they becoming? Because that's the blank canvas. And who is it that you want to become? And what does that future version of yourself look like? And what can we do to help you propel yourself into that trajectory of what we're in the process of designing? Because you are always becoming. The big question is, what and who are you becoming? Because that's the blank canvas, and that's the fun stuff.
Yes, you're absolutely right. 1 billion people. Tell me about that. When I saw your bio, I'm like, 1 billion, that's a lot of people. So how are you achieving that?
Well, firstly, I'll answer the question first, and then I'll expand on that second. I'm achieving that right now. I'm achieving that. I'm in the process by having this conversation with you. You're in the USA, and I'm in Australia, and we're having this beautiful discussion and connecting together and sharing insights and thoughts and questions. And there are people hopefully tuning into this as a recording at some point in the future. And somewhere in the world, hopefully, there might be 1, 2, or maybe 10,000 people that listen to this podcast. And maybe some of them have gone, you know what? I think I might learn to meditate. And so I'm in the process of doing that. I'm giving up some of my time today in my beautiful place here in Bondi for that purpose. So that process is an ongoing process that will probably
Yes.
see me to the end of my days. The second thing is I worked with some consultants and brand experts when I came out of finance, and I was still very much, even though I had a meditation practice, was quite spiritual human being, I still had, and no doubt most likely still do have, some of that egoic alpha male conquer the world type mentality, very Wolf of Wall Street that I had for a long time. And I was very, I guess, attached to this vision and goal of trying to conquer and change things in a big way. I'm less so these days. It's still there, and it still motivates me because I know that it makes a difference in people's lives, and I know that collectively, when we multiply that, will make a difference in the world. But I'm less attached, and less trying to tick boxes and, conquer something or achieve something. It's more just, am I coming from the heart? Am I doing it with joy? Am I waking up each day and out of those competing preferences, and I'm doing something that I love to do? For a long time, I was doing things that I didn't necessarily love to do, but I wanted to achieve a goal. These days, I'm more about, am I in my heart space? Am I making choices that bring me joy? And yeah, it's a much better way to live. Interesting enough, when we start living life that way more, we tend to achieve our goals, but in a better way anyway, with less attachment to them. It's quite
Yes, and
ironic, really.
yes, and that's one of the things that my son, I told him, when he started got out of high school, actually before leaving high school, and one of the things I said to him was, in order, you have to love what you do.
Mhm.
Okay, you're getting ready to be an adult. You're going to be working for a long period in your life. Do what you love, because then you don't feel like you're working
Yeah,
because you love doing it.
yeah,
And
it's great, great wisdom.
yes, and I'm a believer of that. Of course, we do things along the way to support what we love, but at the end of the day, it's all about what you love to do. And what you love to do, to me, is what God created you for.
Mm.
Because if you can take the money away and just do it because you love it, then the money will come.
Yeah, beautiful. I love the way of you looking at things, and this is where the world needs to go. I think is putting that horse before the cart.
Hmm.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
so too. And I think in today's world, I mean, I'm to the point now, the news, I pretty much try to limit how much of that I put in my brain, because what I've noticed, if I watch too much of what's going on in the media, it has an effect on me.
mm,
And I don't want that feeling. I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I enjoy talking to thought leaders and being able to share that information with listeners, viewers. That's gives me peace, and it makes me happy, that I'm able to be the vessel of getting important information to people. And some of the stuff that I see in the media, and even places like TikTok and stuff, some of the things I see, it's like, okay, how's that benefiting another human being?
yeah. Unfortunately, we're in a world and a time. In Sanskrit, it's called Kali Yuga, which is an age of ignorance. It's a period of darkness on the planet. We've kind of normalized to it. We think it's just standard that we have, video games where we kill people. We have conflict and war. We have domestic violence. We have a lot of, let's just call it, distraction, which would be drinking, drugs, social media,
Mhm,
things that, you know, check us out from a deeper awareness. And that's part of the fabric of our society. Our fabric of our society is people being unhappy and unhealthy, and we kind of have normalized to that. If you go into a supermarket, 80% to 90% of the food on those shelves will in some way, shape, or form not be contributing to our health and wellness. And that's just part of our normal fabric of our society. The news, computer games, it's just part of the current model. But with people like yourself doing the work that you're doing, slowly, incrementally, the imaginal cells of the future version and the future possibility for humanity are starting to emerge. And this is how the caterpillar morphs into the butterfly. It's a very
yes.
gradual process that builds over time, and it builds with momentum, and it builds with one imaginal cell after another imaginal cell after another imaginal cell, inspiring each other, collaborating collectively, congregating collectively, communicating collectively, and to slowly build momentum where what is unfamiliar becomes familiar. And this is really exciting, the fact that we can have this conversation today with two people in different parts of the world. We couldn't do that 15 years ago,
Very
unless
true.
it was on a phone call, So this is really exciting times, and we're seeing a very significant paradigm shift happening on the planet. So please, people listening, don't give up. This is a critical time for your contribution and your commitment to just living a better life, choosing a
Mhm.
better way, living with better sovereignty in your health and happiness, and not drawing down upon large organizations or people, or or dogma or doctrination to be that way that you're going to find it. So this is fun times, exciting times, and challenging times as well.
Yes. So your books, I see you did like 6 books, and the portal. Talk a little bit about your creative works.
Yeah, when we start meditating, one of the things that's really interesting is that we start tapping into a almost like a portal, is why we call the film and the book the portal, because we open up a portal to a field of infinite creative potential, and everything that's ever been created, designed, and made
Mhm.
was cognized out of that field of potential and possibility. And everything that's ever going to be designed, created, or made is in that field right now that hasn't been designed, created, or made, which is really exciting because we can start asking, well, what's in that field that I can possibly create, design, or make? And so what happened with me when I started meditating, I got so many impulses of creative intelligence wanting to express itself through me. And it's almost like this sort of tsunami, not even a tsunami, a tidal wave of movement coming through you that you kind of almost like can't stop. And you just want to express that. So I express it through books, through film, through online programs, through even interviews like this. And so yeah, I've probably done my dash with books. Maybe there might be one more left in me. I'm not sure. We'll see. It's quite a process writing a book. It's one thing to have the idea, but creating it's another story.
So if people want to read your books, how do they get a hold of your writings?
They can go to my website in shop. It's up in the top toolbar. There's one called shop, and the books are there, and they can buy them and download them from there, or they
Okay.
can go to Amazon. Some of them are in Amazon as well.
Oh, okay. And the film.
Mm.
I definitely want to see the film. How can I see the film?
Yeah, we're gifting the film to the world now. It's been a really difficult journey and an amazing journey, a journey of incredible learning, where we've spent 10 years, bringing that film to fruition and, handing that out to the world now. We'd love to get a deal with Netflix or someone like that if that was to ever emerge. But at this stage, we're offering that to the world, and they can go to entertheportal.com, enter ENTER, then theportal.com, and they can watch that film for free.
All righty now.
Mm.
Wow, Tom, this is definitely refreshing and so needed with everything that's going on in the world right now. People need to know that there's hope, that they can experience happiness and fulfillment if they just do the right things, to promote that. So I definitely appreciate you sharing your wisdom with us. And again, if people want to connect with you, how do they do so?
Come to Instagram, Tom Cronin, and send me a message there, or just go to tomcronin.com on my website, and hopefully we'll see you on one of our retreats or in our meditation programs. Find my books there, and I look forward to hearing from everyone.
Oh, so you have retreats. Tell me just a little bit about the retreats.
Yeah, come along. We've got one in Australia in April, which is a 4-day deep immersion, and we've got one in Bali in September, which is a more sort of inclusive, higher end retreat experience. And in both of those retreats, we work through a process of clearing trauma, clearing limiting beliefs, upgrading the mind, clearing ourselves and freeing ourselves of inhibitions and vulnerabilities and fears. And then we start to really play at the back end of the retreat with the quantum field and look at how can we create that future version of yourself? How are we playing with that quantum field to attract and draw in the abundance, the magnificence of the life that you actually came here to experience, and break yourself free of all that unworthiness and limiting beliefs that we get indoctrinated with and carried through generational trauma. So it's a very powerful process, and maybe we'll see a few of you coming to Bali next year or Australia for our retreats.
Absolutely. And that information is also on your website.
Yeah, yeah, at
Oh, okay.
tomcronin.com.
So, ladies and gentlemen, visit the website because that's where all of the goodies are.
It's all there. It's like a shopping mall.
That's what it sounds like. Well, thank you so much, Tom, for gracing this platform. And hopefully, people that view and listen to this will begin to find their way to become happier and live with more peace in their life. And, talking with you, I can see that you're very, very passionate about it, and you will definitely reach your goal of 1 billion. So thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Well, thanks for inviting me along today, and thanks for listening in, everyone. It's been wonderful to share space with you, and hope you have a beautiful day and beautiful evening.
Absolutely.